Hey, it's Webs here with the extra video this week because the new mini set actually got announced today and I figured I'd go over the new cards. Because why not? Since some of these new cards actually look really good and some of them kind of look bad, but still can find a place in some type of meme deck. In this mini set, we're seeing two new themes like we have seen in the previous mini sets that have released. Tradable cards that will upgrade once you trade them into your deck, and parrots that copy some type of ability that you last used, such as Death Rattle or a high cost spell with their battle cry. And overall, I'm just going to assume the legendaries, even though they haven't been revealed yet, are going to probably be Edwin Vancleef, Mr. Smite, Chef Cookie, and either Foe Reaper or Sneed. Probably Sneed though, because Sneed is being added in as a playable hero in Battlegrounds, so maybe there'll be some mirroring between the different Hearthstone game modes. The cards that we got revealed today were all the common cards for the mini set. So let's start off with Crow's Nest Lookout. This card is probably the worst out of all of the cards that got revealed today. Honestly, this card is just a worse of the 4-drop Outcast legendary that Demon Hunter has access to, and no one really plays that card anyways, so I don't see why playing 2-3 cost cards that are basically the same thing but worse would do anything. Hell, this card is blatantly just worse than Immolation Aura, except it gives you a body, I guess, but that doesn't really matter. Now for the second card, Need for Greed. This card is definitely a card after my own heart, as some of my friends would say, when it comes to video games and being greedy. This card seems decent enough to fit way into either Questline or a Lionheart OTK deck. Acrobatics is kind of the card that is competing with. However, this second part of its effect is almost always going to be able to be triggered because you can trade it in when you aren't going to play it that turn, and thus cycling through your deck even quicker, and maybe even drawing you to a combo piece that you need. Druid of the Reef is the third card that got revealed today, and this is definitely one of those cards that I would expect to see a lot of play in a deck similar to the one that I released yesterday in the Moonfang deck. This would probably fit in over the Brawlers, as it serves as a target for both your Menagerie Wardens and other beast synergies and your Mark of the Spike Shell, thus being a good card to include in that style of deck. And it doesn't even count as a beast within your deck, which means you're not hurting your consistency factor with the Living Seeds, which is even better. The next card that got revealed was Monstrous Parrot. This card actually fits pretty well in the Rat King deck that's been floating around since United in Stormwind. Generally speaking though, it's just a decent enough card to include in any type of Hunter deck that revolves around Death Rattle, which surprisingly is always going to be a thing with Hunter for some reason, so I could see this card definitely seeing some play. The next card that got revealed was Defias Flashfisher. This card's artwork is really funny to look at. Because of its high cost, I don't know if this will actually see that much play, but it could fit as a payoff for the Rat King deck that was introduced in United in Stormwind. It seems like this mini set is really supporting that art type, and I'm actually pretty glad to see that, because for once maybe we'll actually get a deck that isn't just aggro Hunter be meta relevant for the Hunter class. Grey Sage Parrot is the only mage card that we got revealed today, but I really don't see how this could be honestly played that much. There aren't very many good targets. I think the best targets there are in standard would be something like Deep Freeze, which if it just targets a random target, then Deep Freeze could actually be really bad to use with it. Mark of Cthulhu might actually be the actual best target, just because you're not relying on Parrot choosing the correct target. So I don't honestly see this deck. Paladin is also getting a parrot in the form of Sunwing Squawker. This card is really funny because of cards like Blessing of Authority, where you're just going to get a huge parrot if you combo it out with this, and there's not going to be much that your opponent can actually do, since it'll be two big threats that they have to deal with. They actually printed a card that I'll discuss later that might actually counteract this combo, and I could see this card definitely seeing some play in some type of Liberum Paladin. The first priest card that got revealed is Defias Leper. This card seems decent enough, better than a lot of the Shadow Priest support that actually was in the United in Stormwind set itself. I could see this seeing some type of play because it's a cheap minion on a good body, and you don't actually have to change your deck hardly at all in order to fit this into the deck. It probably would fit better than some of the other 2-cost minions that are currently in the deck. So this will probably end up seeing play. It's kind of boring though, to be honest. Alright, time for probably the card that I'm actually most excited for that's currently been revealed. Amulet of the Undying. Now this card, I know a lot of people are going to be upset with this card because of Big Priest in Wild. However, I want to use it for a different reason. A reason that I've been trying to make work as a deck since the beginning of United in Stormwind, that I scrapped the video for twice at this point, Boar Priest. I really want to try to make Boar Priest work, and I'm pretty sure this might actually push it over the board where it goes from being just unplayable in Standard to decent enough to actually make a video about. There are actually quite a few good other Death Rattle synergies that Priest has right now. The 1-cost card that discovers another Death Rattle, or your Light Shower Elementals, or maybe the Mogar Forge Fiends, I think they're called, would also be another good target. So I think this card will actually see some type of play just because A, it's tradable, so even if you don't have any Death Rattles dead at the current moment of drawing into this card, you can just shuffle it back into your deck and draw a new card. Or B, if you have any type of Death Rattle that you want to repeat multiple times, this card is going to be devastating if you can upgrade it by trading it in. It's definitely going to be one of those cards that takes a lot of thinking around to know exactly when to use it and when not to use it. Rogue gets a new weapon in this set. This card actually makes other 1-cost weapons that have been printed in the past just look pitiful, especially the Paladin 1-cost that did 5 damage to your face when you played it. It's the same stat lines, except it has tradable and it reduces the cost of a spell in your hand by 1, which means the tradable cost is actually a net 0. So thus you're actually gaining advantage on using the trade-in. So I think this card will definitely see some play, even though we don't know what other 2 cards or 3 cards that Rogue is getting. I have a sneaking suspicion that Rogue will at least get a new Edwin Vancleef as a card. Shaman's new card, Brilliant Macaw, it actually supports the Bolnar OTK deck pretty well. This card actually probably fits in just aggro Shaman in general too, because you can copy something like a Primal Dungeoneer or some other type of really powerful battle cry. It's going to be a pretty decent card even if you don't have to build around it, and we'll probably actually see some play. So the first card that Warlock got revealed today was Shadowblade Slinger. It's definitely one of those cards that just looks decent on paper. It's going to probably see a lot of play. It directly supports Questline Warlock, which might make some people angry. However, for me, it's just another removal tool for them, and I don't think it's going to be that devastating that it's going to make or break Questline. And Questline right now isn't in the best of shapes after all the nerfs, which is good for the general public, bad for someone like me who actually like that type of play style. Wicked Shipment is the second card that Warlock got. This card I'm actually more excited about than the Shadowblade Slinger, just because of the fact that I think this will probably fit into Zoolock, and we haven't seen a Zoolock deck in a while. We also have the other tradable card, Shady Bartender, that could combo off with this to make all your imps that you get off of the Wicked Shipment into 3/3s, and that might be big enough for your opponent not to be able to deal with. However, there are a decent amount of board wipes that do 3 damage currently in Standard, so I don't know how valuable this is going to be, but it is going to be a fun, interesting little deck to try out. Man in the Cannons is the first card that Warrior got. This card will probably see a lot of play just because of the fact it's a 2-cost card that does 3 damage and AoE to everything else. It triggers all the frenzies that Warrior has access to, which is something that might actually become an actual deck by themselves now. It also supports other cards that require minions to be damaged within Warrior that the class is kind of known for. So I could see this definitely seeing some type of play. So time for the card that I'm most frightened for in this mini set, Defias Cannoneer. This card is something that before they buffed up Questline Warrior, I thought the deck was missing 1 or 2 more good pirates in order to actually be relevant to the metagame overall. However, after seeing this card revealed, I was shocked that it was in this state still. Maybe they'll undo some of the buffs that Warrior saw, but this card should push the deck over the top and is going to see probably the most play out of most of the cards that have been revealed today. And now time for the last card that got revealed, Gullicrack Glutton, this card is actually kind of funny because of the old crab that used to eat pirates that was printed because pirates were out of control. This card serves a similar fashion as it will be utility against the parrots if they get out of control. The only parrot I could see actually being out of control from this set is the paladin one. However, I don't think that's going to be worth it to just run this card in every single deck, but time will tell, because even if some of the other parrots aren't big enough targets for you to actually want to run this, you still are dealing with a minion by running this, though there are usually better removal tools than having to rely on some type of utility card like this. We'll have to see how the metagame actually shapes up after this mini set. A lot of these cards actually look like they're high powered, and I can't really tell off of just seeing the commons themselves if there's going to be some type of new deck or some old type of deck is going to be supported to the point where it's going to be out of control. With that all being said, if you enjoyed this video, I'll have a more normal style video up tomorrow with a new mercenary video. I just have to edit it at this point. And like always, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, bye bye.